Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another Walking Dead old character video. Today we will be looking at one half of the Miller couple, that being Natalie Miller. Now I covered Bob Millerr years ago, but today we're looking at his lovely, amazing wife Natalie, a resident of Alexandria. Natalie is of course female. She is played by Helen Jackson. She is mid-70s and first appeared in Remember. Before the outbreak, Natalie likely lived in Virginia, and at some point, of course, she met her husband Bob, and the two fell in love, because Bob was the love of her life. Together, they had 5 children, and then those 5 children gave them 12 grandchildren. Amazing. What a big family. When the outbreak began, both Natalie and her husband made it to safety in Alexandria, where Deanna ruled and her husband Reg put up some walls. Natalie remained safe behind the walls, but it's unclear what happened to all of her kids and grandkids. I hope they survived, but it appears that they didn't. Anyway, Natalie and her husband would enjoy spending time on their porch. In Season 5, Natalie and Bob were on their porch when, of course, they saw Carl and Judith stroll by, and they wanted to hold the baby, as it's been a while, so they call the two over. Rick eventually witnesses Natalie fussing over Judith, and Natalie wants to hold Judith, but Bob seems to be hogging her. Eventually, Rick walks over, and it can be assumed that he converses with Natalie too. Later, whilst on a stroll with her husband, she witnesses Glenn and Aiden fight, and Daryl grab Nicholas too, before of course Rick and Deanna help to break up the fight. Deanna then addresses the town, saying that Rick and his people are going to be treated as equals. Natalie then walks away with her husband after the commotion has settled. The next day, or something, Natalie and Bob attend Deanna's party, and Natalie has a drink and talks to Deanna with her husband. She then nods her head as Rick and his people arrive, and Deanna leaves her conversation with Natalie and heads to meet the newbies. Natalie likely stays into the night at the party and witnesses Sasha's outburst. Natalie is seen once again, some days later, chatting on her porch with her husband and Stacy, and whatever Stacy is saying is making Natalie laugh. Some minutes later, Natalie rushes over with her husband when Rick and Pete start fighting in the middle of the street, and, Natalie's full on bolting it. Eventually, Deanna tells Rick to stop, and Rick goes full psycho mode, pulls a gun out, and lectures Alexandria on their shit survival skills. Eventually, Michonne ends his mad rants by knocking him out. Natalie attends the meeting on if they should kick Rick out or not, and she listens to people put their arguments forward before Rick shows up with a zombie and gives his little speech to them all. Then, of course, Pete comes, he kills Reg, Deanna then lets Rick kill Pete, and then Morgan shows up, crazy, and of course Natalie Miller witnesses all of these events. And in Season 6, Natalie attends Rick's meeting on the situation with the walkers in the quarry. Deanna tells everyone to go with Rick's plan, and Natalie doesn't have any objections. And that is the last we see of poor old Natalie Miller alive. When the wolves attack, a wolf finds Natalie on the street and off-screen does this to Natalie. I know, sad. She was set on fire and burnt to death. Damn. If her brain wasn't destroyed, it can be assumed that a resident put her down before she could turn, and eventually her body is gathered by Bruce and Tobin and buried within Alexandria. Her name is also put on the memorial wall. However, they actually put the actress's name, Helen, on the wall, not Natalie, but it can be assumed that that refers to Natalie's character. Either way, R.I.P. Natalie Miller. Natalie Miller was just an extra really, but she was an old extra. And she also had an amazing husband. I mean, good old Bob Millerr. So, she was a real lucky woman. There's not really much more to say about Natalie. Her arc is going from just wanting to see some damn grandchildren again to being set on fire. It's not really an arc, but that's her character. Nothing more to say. I'll see you tomorrow for another Walking Dead oldie, okay? Goodbye.